Welcome to Small Town Pulse with Steve and Melissa, where the stories are good, the coffee's strong, and the charm is home brewed.
We bring you the heart of small town living,
One story,
one sip,
and one beat at a time. Welcome to Small Town Pulse with Steve and Melissa. Today we're joined by Sarah and Trevor Brown. Between their work in real estate and their hands-on experience in construction and their ties to the community, they've been a big part in helping families and businesses put down roots here in Spencer County. We'll be talking about the local housing market trends, the challenges and opportunities in building today, and where they see our community headed over the next few years. Sarah and Trevor, thanks for joining us, and I know you have a lot more that you do for this community, just more than real estate and...
Oh, so much more than just real estate.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So, for the folks listening, how would you describe the trend in housing between real estate and building this time, with all the difficulties we have in this?
With high mortgage rates and high building costs and high home costs.
We've really seen a big trend. One of the things that to me was a changing factor was when we were able to bring Homerama to Spencer County 2 years ago. And it's really elevated the buyers that would come to Spencer County. In the past, we couldn't get the high-end buyers. Now we've got a development, the houses are averaging between 800,000 and $1 million, versus in the past we could never get those kind of numbers. So we're seeing we're kind of seeing two demographics, which has been universal for Spencer County, is retirees and young families. So the young families come for the schools, the retirees come for a little space, a little lower taxes, stuff like that. And so we kind of see that, but we're seeing a trend, an upward trend, which everybody is, of just with the cost of construction continuing to go up. But we're really seeing one of the big drivers of the real estate industry right now is they're saying it's the tip of the spear of the largest transfer of wealth ever in our history, and it's where the baby boomers are dying and passing on their wealth to their kids, and their kids are using that to fund new projects.
I had no idea we had home. I mean, I figured we had farms here that were obviously well over $1 million, but I had no idea we had just homes and developments that were
Yes,
that price point. That's great.
right. And the Bellwood subdivision is the one that he's referring to. The houses have been there, and then we also do build in other price points too.
Right.
Also, he mentioned the older retirees coming. A lot of them, I would say, also several of them have grandchildren here, and so that's also what's bringing them out here to Spencer
So
County.
the families are coming for the schools, and then the grandparents are following.
Correct.
That makes
Correct.
sense, yeah. We have a great superintendent. We have a great school system.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What you guys are doing to help fund things within the school are one of the reasons that so many people want to move here to attend schools here. So it's all exciting, and it's kismet how it all goes together, even though you didn't plan it that way.
Oh, sure. Right.
Yes. Yeah, you don't do that, and then you see the ramifications. It kind of comes down to a lot of times of, if you do the right thing, then things come back to you.
Right.
And that's where, for us, like I'm the sixth generation of our family in Spencer County, and we were raised as farmers, and and when I grew up and went to school here, I said I'd never live in Spencer County. And then I lived away for a while, and I'm like, well, it's not all that bad. And so then I get back here, and now, it's very important to me what happens in Spencer County. And so we try to support as many things as we can. We support the sports teams, any of the extracurricular things that we can, through different things and that. But it makes me proud to see our community do well, and that means a lot to us.
Yeah, and one thing about this community, they are school strong. Yes. So anything that they can do for the schools is kind of great. And you mentioned the Educational Foundation. How do you raise funds for that, and where do the funds go to, just to let people know?
I do it by whatever my wife tells me.
So Sarah, how does the Educational Foundation? How did you come? How did it come about that you started that, and how long ago?
Well, we're actually just finished our 6th fiscal year, and so we're heading into our 7th year. And quite honestly, when it started, Trevor and I have 3 children, and we had a child at the middle school, the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. And at the time when our oldest went to the high school, from a technology perspective, he was told they didn't have computers. I think at the time they were like at a 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 ratio. They had to use their phones. And I kind of went to Trevor and I'm like, something has to be done. Certainly we can help in some way. Ironically, a good friend of ours was involved with Oldham County's Education Foundation, and so we kind of talked to him, and Trevor and I really felt it was a way that we could help start something to kind of give back to the community that we felt had given so much to us from our profession standpoint, but then also, our children got great educations at the school, and so far going on, had success in college and going on to do great things, and college or not college, it just was a great place that our kids learned, and so we just wanted to be able to give back. I guess we'll take credit as sort of founding it and getting it started, but there's a whole team of people obviously who have helped everything grow. So
So there was also we ran into, where we had people, and what you find is this community is very giving, but you got to go out and make it happen. So people were like, you would find that they maybe needed a computer for a teacher. Well, if you give the money to the school, then it has to go through the Red Book, and it has to go through all this stuff. And one of the things that was really eye-opening is there was a computer that we wanted to, hey, let's see if we can get these computers. Well, if you bought them through the school, well, they had to buy it through this set vendor. And the cost of that was, and I can't remember exact numbers, was like $900. Well, then you go to Best Buy on their website and it's $600. And we're like, well, wait a second.
We can buy 2 computers.
Well, why are we, and by donating just to schools, you're just so hamstrung, versus setting this up, you're able to go and make a bigger impact with your money. And those are things that, I as a business person hate to see money wasted because of bureaucratic red tape.
Yes.
And so this was a way to kind of bypass a lot of that stuff and really make things happen. And then you would have people come in and say, hey, I want to give money to my granddaughter's in the band and I want to get them t-shirts. Oh, great. Well, here you go. You can fund t-shirts for the band, and you can directly, make a difference through that. And so you saw a lot of things that you could positively impact, that you could see your money, and people responded to that when they see their money going to a project that means something.
Absolutely.
To them.
When they see a result of
Yes,
their money
absolutely.
being given.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now something new too that's happened just recently. You guys took over Events on Main,
Yes.
and
You actually bought several properties on Main Street
Well,
that you've
yeah,
been working on.
but I know
Exciting.
Events on Main is starting
Living.
out. Yeah, it's been around there for a little bit, but now that you all take it over, and
That was a building and an opportunity that sort of came for sale, and Holly, the old owner, had done a fantastic job of getting that business kind of up and going, and it's a charming space inside of there, and just really tastefully and well done. And when they wanted to sell the business, we thought it would be something that was definitely important to the community to have that space. And then from the construction standpoint and being in building, Trevor swore he would never do remodels or renovations, but the
So
upstairs.
your wife told you you had to, right?
My wife and Kelly Hubbard.
Right.
Then I say yes, ma'am.
Right.
But the upstairs was just this beautiful space with beautiful views of downtown, and so speaking of red tape, there is a little bit more technicalities that we're running into, but we hope to be starting construction by the end of 2025 for sure. And so we're gonna kind of dabble in the Airbnb space in downtown Taylorsville. Lots of other downtown communities have spaces available for that and available to rent, and so we'll see how it goes. We feel like it kind of starts with 1 or 2 people who are willing to, put some heart and soul and money into making it better, and so we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
It does. It takes one person with a little bit of vision to kind of kick that ball rolling, and then people get excited. They see a little momentum, and then they want to get involved. And
Yes.
And you see, for us, the stuff downtown is not you kind of look at things and go, the community's been very good to us as far as our business goes. And there's things that you do that you just understand they're not profit centers, but they're the right thing. And you get started, and then, like I said, other people are saying, well, hey, maybe I'll maybe I'll fix up a building, maybe I'll do this. And that's kind of the goal of that, is to kind of work through all of that and help kind of clean up and revitalize downtown.
It needs it.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does. It does, because it's beautiful down there. I know Main Street does a lot of work
Yeah.
on there, and it's picturesque
Yeah.
to me. You know?
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
It just takes private funding. That's the
Right.
reality.
Yeah.
Is it's not
Right.
if you wait for the government, they just have too many other projects that take priority over stuff like that, and so it just takes that. And that's where for us, I tell Sarah, I'm like, let's just not lose too much money. That's kind of our goal. So
Yeah, that's a great point, because a $5,000 grant, a $10,000 grant doesn't go very far when you're talking about rehabbing a building from the 1900s.
No.
Right.
It doesn't go far.
Right.
So they need a little more love than that, for
and
sure.
then even if you try for a grant, all the different people that got to go through before you get it, and say, okay, well, finally I got this money at 98 years old, and
Right.
we can do
Yes.
stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, you guys are doing some great things. Also, with Taylorsville is still a small town, but
Right.
it's grown, and I know it's going to grow bigger within the next.
And a big need for housing.
Yeah.
yes.
So, where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years?
So one of the big things. So I'm currently the vice president of Louisville Home Builders, and I'm president-elect. So next year I'll be president of Louisville Home Builders, and it's kind of selfishly, all of the builders are in Jefferson County, and they're like, "What's it like in Spencer County?" Well, I don't want them coming out here.
You're like, the market's not that good.
I'm like, it's bad. You don't
Yeah.
want to come out here. It's hard to deal with. But that's the reality. Is it's gotten to the point that it's and like, it's hard to say you want to keep certain things out. But Spencer County doesn't have tract builders, and so I think that allows us to have a more quality product, and it attracts a more quality resident. And at some point the tract builders will probably come here, because it's gotten so difficult to develop in Jefferson County. If you want to develop a piece of land in Jefferson County, if you're not willing to spend $250,000 to get through zoning, well, you can't do it. Well, the only people that can afford that are the tract builders. So it's going to start pushing all of these people. They've been in Oldham for a while, and Shelby's very restrictive. Bullitt's just its own little beast. So it's kind of like we're the next thing of where people are going to come. For good or bad, they're coming, and it's just a matter of how. And I feel like we've got a government and a planning and zoning that are in position to handle the growth. That's the hope, is that they have the foresight into, hey, you always have the people that, the worst, to me, the hardest people to deal with are the ones that buy a house out here on an acre lot, and they don't want anything else coming. And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. You can't be, but everybody wants to be the last person to move here. And that's, there's going to be growth. And so it's a matter of, do you have responsible growth, or do you get overrun with bad projects? And that's, and that's the thing that I think the community is prepared for. And I hope that we're able to, keep that, and we don't get, if you start getting the tract builders that start coming in and building, 200 houses a year, well then, that's adding 400 students to our school. So then our schools are overcrowded, and then you've gone from having a great school system to an overcrowded, stretched school system, and you can't have that. So there's all the ramifications of that: infrastructure, roads, water, sewers, all of that. So I think they're in place, but I do see that, like, we're the next area that the growth is coming to.
Yeah, because they see there's money here. There's they keep throwing around that we're the second
Median income.
Yeah,
in
in the state of Kentucky, and it's funny because when we talked to Dr. Foster, when we had him on the podcast, he talked about growth being kind of the biggest hurdle he faces in the school system, the biggest blessing and the biggest hurdle, I think he said. And then we also talked to Scott, and he talked about the county needs to grow.
Yeah.
We have to keep growing it to have the infrastructure that we need and that we
Right.
want, and the revenue that we need to support these things that we want. but trying to do it in a way that this town can also tolerate.
Right.
Trying
And
to
still
put
have the
everything
charming small town feel, which is the reason
Live
that
here.
Spencer County is
Right.
attractive, and that they want to get
Yeah.
away from some
Yeah.
of the more populated areas.
That was my joke when I moved out here. I'm a city boy. I grew
Yeah.
up in New York, but my thing was always when we moved. I moved to Louisville. I couldn't stand Louisville as much, so we moved out here when we were looking. And the great thing about what I found was it was the closest thing to city being in a subdivision that we're in. But when I pull out, there's the cows,
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going
Yeah.
straight into buses and trains and stuff like that. I get
Right.
to view the cows and everything. So it's charming out here.
Right.
Now, what does your future look like? Do you have any plans going forward on other projects or?
So we're always looking for stuff. We've got our latest project was Bellwood, and we hosted Homerama. We had one of the Homerama houses in there, so that was a smaller development. It was 23 lots, and I think we're down to 8 left in there. So we're constantly looking. It's just a matter of finding somebody that's willing to sell at a reasonable price. And there's sometimes stuff out there. There's some unreasonable prices, and that's what you'll see. But there's going to be growth. It's just a matter of what we look at. We added a new phase to the back of Top Flight Landings. That's going to be houses. Those houses are more in the $450,000 to $500,000 price range, and it's not funny, but one of the things that I struggle with is when kids that went to school with our kids and they come say, hey, I want to move back to Spencer County, there's nothing they can buy, and that's the thing that we have to overcome. And the tough part about that is that one way you achieve that is for higher density, and that's a double-edged sword. You get the higher density, you get tract builders, and but at some point we have to do something to allow kids to move back here and figure out there's got to be some new alternatives, and there's stuff that we're always looking at different types of building that we can do. And we also one of the projects that I'm trying to find, and it's just tough finding land for this because it requires sewers, is patio homes, because as our population ages, there's no place for them to go, and so they all end up moving back to Louisville because there's not any patio homes that they can live in. So that's one of the projects that we're looking for. We just haven't found the property yet.
Right. Well, the good thing is sewers are coming.
Yes.
Yeah. I think 5 years, when we talked to
I
Scott,
think
5 years
it's
out, Elk
between
Creek.
Yeah,
and then,
between 5 to
yeah.
10 years, everybody should be on sewers.
20 years,
20
the whole
years,
county,
20
yeah.
years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention.
I
I gotta go re-listen. I will do that.
So, one of the things you guys have recently done is you're selling 20 acres off of the Humes farm, right by Country Mart. And I know there's a little mixed feelings in the community about it because, one, it's a sign of growth, that there's going to be some more commercial things coming. I don't know how many people really realize that the pavilion for the county is coming in that area as well. So it's going commercial one way or another.
Right.
And he's just selling off 20 acres. But how do you guys feel about, community response to, farms? Because they're,
Yeah.
we were a complete farming community back in the day.
Right.
It has to kind of change as things grow.
So I struggle with it because my family were farmers, and when I went away to college, and then I managed a restaurant for a little while, and I moved back with the intent of helping my dad farm. And my dad's answer was, nothing grows around here except houses. So figure out. So I struggle when people who have moved here in the last 5 years tell me that, hey, you can't do it, but they took away our family's livelihood when that's what we did was farm. And, because they got a house, then that took away our opportunities to farm. So it's tough for me. And it's also, you come down to landowners' rights. At what point does the landowner have the right to, that's Wayne Sweezy's, that's his retirement.
Oh,
And-
Sweezy Farm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
not Hume.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
thought, I was like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, sorry,
But-
Squeezy Farm, yeah.
But anyway, that's Wayne. So at what point do we have the right to say, okay, you're not able to do that because I like looking at the cornfield? Well, that's great. If you want to buy the cornfield, then you're welcome to do that. But you can't restrict that. And the reality is Spencer County needs services. And right now, there's no options of where you can go because the city of Taylorsville is pretty much full. There's no vacant land there. So unless you go in and start raising houses, and nobody's interested in doing that. So at what point do you have growth? And, I like to see a pretty cornfield as well, but at the same point, like progress has to come. And that's one of the things that comes, and that's the most desirable piece of land. And that's, and the good thing is Wayne doesn't, like, there have been several people approach us with projects and he's turned them down. Even though he could make a lot of money, he's turned them down because they don't fit the vision that he has, which his vision is that it's going to be done tastefully, it's going to be good, and it has to provide a service that the community needs. So for me, it's a very hot topic that a lot of people don't like that. However, it's a necessary evil. At some point, you have to have a place for, services for the county.
And if we don't have them here, they're going to be going to Louisville or Shelbyville or Bardstown or Mount Washington. So if we can create jobs and opportunities and
Yeah.
here in the county.
Absolutely. I think the other thing people have to realize is our generation particularly, we pushed our kids to go to college, go be a professional.
Right.
We're not creating a lot of farmers
No.
anymore in future generations. So what are these farms to do? I don't think the average person who's never really looked at the scale of what it takes to run a farm understands the amount of people and
Yeah.
effort that it takes and the amount of money that you're risking in planting those crops and
Yeah.
whether you have good rain or not and all
Right.
those things, you
Right.
know. I mean,
And
Unfortunately, you cannot make everybody happy. I mean, that's the reality is, and here's my thought when Kelly first approached me about Kelly Hubbock, and she's the realtor that's handling it. When she approached me about it, and I said, well, like, I would rather have it in our hands to where we at least have some say in it, and in working with Wayne, and Wayne's been awesome about not just accepting anything else versus it at one point, which most people didn't realize, he actually had it for sale for a year before. It was with a big commercial company. They just didn't advertise it. And so it's been for sale for a while. Well, they have no vested interest. Their interest was making a commission and selling it to the highest bidder versus, Kelly came to me and was like, what do you think? And I was like, well, we have a vested interest, so it's going to be sold. So let's try and make it impactful and help the community.
that's one thing. It's always hard when you're looking for a house to find the right house. And,
Yeah.
like I said, when we were looking, it was crazy for me because I worked a crazy schedule. So basically on a Saturday that I was off, we looked at 10 houses a day
Yep.
for about 3 months until I could finally find the right house. It's just knowing your buyer, I guess, would be the best way to
Right.
put it. But you're still going to find those little snags between
Oh,
the final contract. So how do you handle some of those?
It's a never-ending process. You go in and I always joke. So I've built for 25 years, and it used to be that I had my spec sheet. So when you sign a contract, we have your plans, and then we have a spec sheet, and then you have a sales contract. Well, the spec sheet used to have about 3 pages. Well, now it's up to 25 pages, and you just keep coming along because there's always discrepancies of people. And I'm building a house right now for like this lady, and she is wonderful and she is great, but in her mind, she envisioned the house a certain way, but it was never reflected on the plans. It was never reflected in the bid, the proposal. And she's like, well, I just assumed that it would be this way. And so now I'm going to have another page added to my spec sheet to detail all of the stuff. And you're just going to have it, but you try to go over, for me, is you try to go over as much stuff as possible. And I always tell people that if there's anything you have a question about before we sign a contract, ask me. The more questions you ask up front, the better the build goes. Because if you assume one way and I assume another way, that's when you have the question of, hey, wait a second, we thought it was like this. And that's the hardest for me, because you hate to disappoint a customer, but in the same sense, when you spell stuff out, and a lot of it comes down to is the buyers don't have the knowledge of my business. So when I spell stuff out, well, some of my terminology and some of the plans don't mean anything to them, versus they mean a lot to me, and that's where we have some difficulties. And that's, you just, like I said, you just go in and you add a new paragraph to your spec sheet, and it details out and it spells specifically, here's how everything is handled. And then you think, I've got it all covered, and then the next house comes along.
There's another paragraph.
And you got another paragraph. So
Yeah.
you keep doing it, you keep learning, and what I've found out is, if you're fair to people, they're understanding, and they understand that. And that's the hard part about building, is at some point it's my business, but it's their home. And that's where, when those two meet, like, I really have a strict policy. I don't build for family and friends. And it's just that I always say there's no amount of money that's worth losing a family member or a close friend. It's just not worth it. And at some point, there's always a disagreement on how something's done. And that's where, but you just try and be fair to people. And that's all you can ask.
Well, you've also built a really great team of realtors that can kind of translate between home buyer speak and builder speak, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So how many realtors do you have now?
17.
Yeah.
17.
Wow.
And I've been a realtor for a long time, and I always struggled because houses that I had previously built that had good relationships, when they went to sell, I would assume they would use me, and they wouldn't use me as a realtor. And I finally accepted the fact that I'm always viewed as a builder developer, not that. Well, then I really struggled with the fact that people were hiring realtors from Louisville to come out here and sell stuff, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And one of the hardest things to do is look at yourself and say, because you're doing a bad job. And that was tough for me to look at and say, wait a second, I know this market better than anybody. And so then, but I looked at it and I'm like, do we really have a professional team? And we didn't. And so I went out to, there was a handful of people that I thought, if I could get them to come on, that they had the same vision for the community, that I feel like that was our goal, is we wanted to be experts in Spencer County, because there's just not an agency that provided that service in the county. And so I thought that by getting, and the majority of our agents live in Spencer County, and I always make the joke of, well, I'm not going to go hire a realtor from Taylorsville to help me buy a house in Florida. And that's the same thing of, why would you hire a realtor from Louisville to sell a house in Taylorsville? Because we struggled with a lot of the realtors from Louisville. Well, they wouldn't even want to come out. And so they would do stuff, and they would underprice stuff, overprice stuff, because they didn't understand the market. Well, but when I looked at what I offered, I wasn't offering a professional service. So when I came in and added, the realtors we added, at this point now they're like, hey, they know the market better than anybody. And that's where, we're by far the number one agency in Spencer County, and that's, our goal, not to say dominate, because that's a bad term,
Right.
but we feel like we provide the best service, and we know the market better, so, we feel like we can do the best job for the clients out here.
Absolutely. And I think the community
Yeah.
resonates that as well.
Yeah.
In feeling like you guys are the experts that they trust.
And one of the things that we've kind of stressed with our realtors is, so Sarah and I, like, we like to sponsor, we're very big supporters of sports teams, all of this, and we had to stress to our agents that, hey, you in effect are your own business, and you all have to do that. You all have to go out, and so you'll see, Kelly Hubbock is she does the coaches interview, and John Odenbach sponsors the extra points, and all of our agents, have really taken that, and so, you see our team involved in the community, and it just makes a big presence.
It does.
It does, and a lot of them are with organizations too, or sports teams that they believe in. Eric and Angie are really involved with baseball sponsorships, and just being where you are and where your kids are, and supporting things that you love is important. I'll think that all of our agents, as well as Trevor and I, definitely have a spirit of wanting to give back, and being a servant, being thankful for what we have here in the community. So
That's what we need. A lot of people, the one thing that I do see about this community is that they like helping and like giving back. Like the Stidger house that they're trying to rebuild now. There's movement on it now.
Yeah.
So, and that's right next to you guys over there. Also, I know that you also had bought the building that the Humane Society is in and helped them out, and that was a great
Help them out in their major time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They were
We're
about
happy
to,
to do
they
it.
were, the cats were about to be homeless again, so, if not for you guys, so thank you for that.
We're glad it all worked out the way that it did
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love seeing those videos of those cats just climbing the walls and
Oh.
up there on their little perches. It's my favorite kind of content to watch. And I'm not even a cat person.
no, and we took one of them home, and we got
That's right, he got one of the six-toed.
the six-toed one.
Oh my.
Oh.
Yeah, I said, I call him Frankenstein. His name is Rocket, but he's going to be taking care of the chickens for us.
Oh, there you go.
So good.
But,
Found a good home.
so I know you talk about your team a lot, and you're very proud of them. So
Yeah.
is there anything you want to say to them while we're here?
For me, just what they all do, and it's nice because, and we've had several realtors reach out that want to join our team because they kind of see what we have. And first thing I do is there's several of them that I reach out first and say, is this a fit for our team? If they've done business with them. And then I look at, I don't just take, like most brokers will take any agent. And for me, I'm not going to do that because they have to have our values before I want them representing me. And that's the hard part is you see, there's always, you got to weigh out, there's the options of, well, if I take this person on, I'm going to make money off of them. But at what cost? And that's where everybody on our team has that vision, and I trust them. And and it's a tough thing to have that many people that you do trust. But we're very fortunate that we do have a good team, and they care.
And they all love this community.
Yes.
And one last note on the Education Foundation.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to donate, or is there something that they can do to
Yeah.
reach out to help and volunteer?
Absolutely. Really, if you just go to our website, it's scefky.org. There's options there to donate, make just a general donation or monthly giving. Actually, just in the last week, we have Venmo set up, a Venmo for nonprofits. That's in ways to do it. Easy way to do it.
And she didn't touch on this, but we've also, it's kind of, since she's got this, and really, there's a lot of things that I question when she does it, and generally I'm wrong. And but there was an individual that had gone to Spencer County back in the 70s and called and said, hey, I would like to set up an endowment, and so he gave $25,000 because that's one of the big things for us, and now we've kind of changed our policies, but one of the goals is, like, you see organizations like this start, and Sarah's a great driving force, but at some point it has to move on to the next group. And so what our goal is we set aside a certain percentage of funds we raise that go to this endowment to grow so that eventually, it becomes self-supporting. But we're seeing that, what I talked about with the older generation of the baby boomers passing away, there have been several people that have said, they've passed away and said, in lieu of flowers, send a donation to the Education Foundation. And that's for us is wonderful when we see that we're like, hey, the people that have pride in this community,
Absolutely.
and they might not even live here anymore. the gentleman that gave the money he lives in Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia.
And, but it's like, hey, we've really done something when we get this type of movement with a guy from Virginia that went to school in the 70s, wants to come back and give money. And like, if you start getting that, then like the changes that you can make when you start getting money where, we build an endowment and we can work off of that interest. That's a huge goal of ours, because it's not, you can't rely on Sarah and I, and that's our goal, is to not build something that's just us, that it's something that stays.
Self-sustained for the community, and it's here in 25 years when we're have grandkids someday, maybe, hopefully.
Thing we did not talk about, I know it's a ways away, but Denim and Pearls. If people have not been to your Denim and Pearls event, it's your biggest fundraiser for the Educational Foundation.
Yeah.
It sells out so quick.
Yes.
Because it is the event of the town.
Yes.
I mean, it is.
Yes.
It is one everybody wants to attend. And I'm wondering, where in the world are you going to start having 2 a year or something? Because everybody's not going to be able to get in at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's definitely taken off and been super exciting. So we're looking forward to that again. And to your point, also the team that we have in place right now, we had a meeting last Monday, and we're trying to come up with some other events to sort of do things that bring the community together, but then of course for a good cause throughout the year. So yes.
So stay tuned for
Stay
exciting
tuned.
things. So
Yes, that's
they
right.
can follow you on Facebook, so Spencer County Educational Foundation.
Yes, Facebook and Instagram. Yes, and we actually have a student that's doing our social media and doing that. So that's helping out. It's nothing that was not in my skill set. So yes, follow there
And
too.
then they can also follow you on Brown Realty.
Yep, Brown Realty and Trevor Brown Construction as well, and Events on Main.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll post all those links on the
Okay,
podcast
awesome.
so everybody can
Thank
get to
you.
them, and your websites as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it was so good talking to you.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you so much for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much for
Sarah.
everything you do
Thank
for the
you.
community.
Thank you.
It is
Oh.
noticed and appreciated.
Oh, well.
That's all for today's episode of Small Town Pulse. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your day with us.
We'll be back soon with more voices, more stories, and more of the heart that makes small towns shine.
Until then, keep listening
Keep smiling.
and always keep your finger on the pulse.